What is up, everyone? My name is Jack Saville, back again with another WrestleMania review, and today I'm here with my WrestleMania 19 review in Safeco Field in Seattle, Washington. And yeah, this show was fantastic. It's one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. So many big matches took place on this show, man. And overall, it was just an enjoyable show to watch, man. So, we kick things off with Ashanti singing America the Beautiful, but that got cut out from the network version. I didn't even see that at all. It was super weird why they cut that out. I don't know why they did it, but yeah, they cut out the network special. So we open up the show with a Cruiserweight Championship match. Matt Hardy, V1, as he was known at the time, with Shannon Moore in his corner, taking on Rey Mysterio, making his WrestleMania debut. Came out in a really cool Daredevil-inspired attire. This was around when the Daredevil movie came out that year. So, really good opener. Very fast-paced, back-and-forth action between the two. But how it all ended was Hardy ducked into a roll-up, and he used the ropes for leverage to pin Mysterio in a very fast-paced but very fun match. So, yeah, Rey Mysterio was super popular when he came into the WWE in 2002 because the whole mask that he was wearing just became a hit, especially with kids. Like, I loved Rey Mysterio when I was really getting into wrestling. He was one of the first guys that really got me into pro wrestling. So, he had a very solid match with Matt Hardy, and I thought it was a great way to open up the show. So, after that, we were going to get The Undertaker and Nathan Jones versus A-Train and The Big Show in tag team action, but Nathan Jones got attacked backstage on Sunday Night Heat before the show by Big Show and A-Train. I think the real reason behind this was Nathan Jones was super green at the time, so they didn't really want to put him on a big stage at WrestleMania. Wanted him to wait until he was better enough to have a match at WrestleMania. But he does show up at the end of the match, though, to help Undertaker out. So Undertaker comes out to a live performance of Limp Bizkit's Rolling. Yeah, Limp Bizkit, the WWE's favorite band, as they actually even said on the programming. I wouldn't be shocked if fucking Fred Durst just told the announcer to fucking say that, man. So, yeah, I thought it was an alright match. I thought it was an alright handicap match. Cole and Taz kept referring to Undertaker as the big dog, which looking back now is kind of hilarious, as considering where Undertaker would end up at WrestleMania 33. But he ends up winning this match. I mean, of course he is. It's fucking WrestleMania. So he hits a tombstone piledriver on A-Train to win the match. So, yeah, Undertaker, this would be his last WrestleMania match under the American Badass gimmick. He would later go back to the Dead Man gimmick at next year's WrestleMania. But as for the match itself, it was fine enough. Afterwards, we get a triple threat match for the Women's Championship. Victoria, Jazz, and Trish Stratus battling out for the title. So, I believe Victoria was the champion going into this. Yep, she was. She had Steven Richards in her corner. That they were like a couple, on-screen couple. She comes out to All the Things She Said by Tattoo, which was a super popular song around this time period. I don't know how the hell they got the rights to have that song as their theme, but it was pretty cool that they got that. If you watch the network version, they do edit it out with like a rip-off song of that, but yeah, it was still pretty cool that she actually got the rights to use it. So, for a women's triple threat match, this was actually pretty damn good. I will say, a pretty damn good women's triple threat match. So, the crowd was definitely behind Trish Stratus in this. She was definitely at the peak of her career, I'd say. So, Victoria was about to hit Trish with the Widow's Peak, which got counted into a chick kick to Victoria to win the match. So, at this point, she had tied with Fabulous Moolah with 4 Women's Championship reigns, and she would eventually beat that record by becoming a 7-time Women's Champion in her career. So, yeah, a great accomplishment for Trish and a great night for her in general. So, After that match, we get to another triple threat match, but this time is for the WWE Tag Team titles. It is Team Angle, which was made up of Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas, who are basically the American Alpha of 2003. They were under Kurt Angle's wing pretty much, and yeah, they were a great tag team. At one point, they even called themselves the world's greatest tag team. That's how good they thought they were. And they took on Los Guerreros, which was Eddie and Chavo Guerrero, and they were also facing Chris Benoit and Rhyno. So those two were a team. Very, very good match as well. I did enjoy it. So during the end of the match, Rhyno delivered a goal to Chavo, but then Shelton Benjamin tagged out Charlie, and he put himself into the match, pinned Chavo, stole the victory to win, to retain the tag team titles in a pretty solid tag team encounter. So nothing to really complain about here. Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas would be one of the top tag teams in WWE that year, alongside with Los Guerreros. There was some good tag teams around this time period, man. So, like, especially on SmackDown. So after that, we had, oh my lord, Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. What a fucking match this is, man. So Shawn had just returned in 2002 at SummerSlam after a long 4-year absence. He had a great feud with Triple H and would eventually win the world title at Survivor Series in 2002. But after his program was done with Triple H, he moved on to one with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho was basically, he wanted to be the next Shawn Michaels. His whole career was basically based, and he idolized Shawn Michaels pretty much throughout the majority of his career, and how after a while he got sick of being the next Shawn Michaels and decided to become the first Chris Jericho, and basically went after Shawn Michaels for it. And Shawn even delivered a sweet old super kick to Chris Jericho in the build-up for this match. So it was basically just Jericho proving to the world that he is better than his childhood idol, pretty much. And the match was just fantastic, man. When he applied the walls of Jericho to Michaels early on, and then Jericho even hit Michaels with a sweet chin music. He was such a cocky dickhead at this time period. It was so good, man. Like, even in his entrance, he would, like, look at the crowd and just brush them off. And, like, when Shawn would come out to do his flashy entrance and, like, shoot people with a confetti gun and all that, it was, yeah, it was just great stuff overall, man. So, Jericho even locked in Michaels at the walls of Jericho, but then Michaels escaped, and he hits Jericho with the sweet chin music, but he kicks out at 2. And so how this all ended, Jericho attempted a suplex that Michaels countered into a roll-up, which gave Michaels the win in just an awesome display of 2 of the best wrestlers probably of all time, man. Like, when it comes to just the athleticism and just putting on an in-ring performance, those 2 are just at the top of the list, man. So afterwards, after the match had settled, Jericho, it looked like he was crying and wanted to embrace Shawn Michaels, so they hug in the middle of the ring, and then right afterwards, Jericho kicks Michaels right in the nuts just because he's a cunt, basically. Jericho was a true heel in this time period, and I loved it, man. It was so good. So after that, we had Limp Bizkit performing the theme song for WrestleMania 19, Crack Addict. And yeah, it was a very good performance, I will say. And then after that, we had the Miller Lite Catfight girls, who showed up in segments during the first half of the show. And they were going to compete in a catfight in bed on the stage. And then Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson added themselves into the match. And it wasn't even a proper match. It was just a segment to give people a boner, pretty much. And so Coach was hosting it, Jonathan Coachman, and he gets caught up in Tori and Stacy's catfight. And then the 4 girls rip off Coach's pants, and they all celebrate and have fun times after that. So what wasn't fun, though, was the World Heavyweight Championship match. Triple H, the champion, with Ric Flair in his corner, taking on Booker T. The build-up for this one, Jesus Christ. So, Booker had won a Battle Royal to put himself in the World Heavyweight title match against Triple H. Triple H was awarded the World Heavyweight title on Raw in September of 2002 after Brock Lesnar decided to make the WWE title a SmackDown exclusive championship. So, yeah, Raw needed a world championship, and Eric Bischoff decided to reintroduce the World Heavyweight title on Monday Night Raw. So Triple H was still the champion, and he was in the build-up for this match between Triple H and Booker T. He mentions about how Booker T went to jail as a teen, and how he got into a bit of trouble on the streets, and how he used wrestling to kind of get away from that and to get his mind back on track and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a redemption story for Booker T, which that aspect of it was really cool. However, on Triple H's side of things, he was like, well, people like you don't get to be world champions. So most people saw that as a racist kind of remark, because, oh, people like you don't win titles because you're black, haha. Which, I don't know if that's exactly what they were going for, but it definitely seemed like it. So yeah, it was pretty uncomfortable on that end. But as for the match itself, pretty solid world title match. I felt like Booker should have definitely won this match. I don't know why he didn't win. Apparently, Triple H didn't want Booker to win the match. He wanted to stay champion. And so, because this would have been the perfect opportunity to make Booker T World Heavyweight Champion. I know he would later on down the track, but like, this would have been just an even better moment. Like at WrestleMania, to become the world champion. I mean, you can't really get much better than that. But unfortunately, that's not really how it went. Triple H won the match after hitting his pedigree on him. And yeah, Triple H, this was right during the Reign of Terror, which many people coined this era for Triple H as the Reign of Terror. I'm not sure if Evolution was properly formed yet. I don't know if that was later on down the line where Randy Orton and Batista would come on Triple H's side. But yeah, Triple H, he was on top of the Raw roster, man, and he was basically just looking down at all the peasants pretty much. So yeah, Triple H won the match, and that's all I can say. And then after that, we get to the street fight between Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon. So this whole build-up was a long time in the making. It was basically, who was the sole reason that WrestleMania became as big as it was? Was it Hulk Hogan or was it Vince McMahon? That was what we were kind of seeing in this feud, and how Vince wanted to basically take out Hulk Hogan because of what he kind of put him through. And Mr. McMahon saying, you know, I made Hulk Hogan a star in WWE and he left me to go to WCW, and he even tried to sue me in the steroid trial during the early 90s, during that time period, and that's where all that feud basically really got started. And like, even during the contract signing for the match, McMahon like busted open Hulk Hogan, and then he forced Hogan to sign with his blood on the contract, which, man, it was crazy. And let's just say, there was plenty of blood spilled in this match. Both men got busted open. It was a very, very brutal match. Like, Hogan counters a chair shot by McMahon and just smacks him in the head with it, which caused McMahon to bleed. And there's also that great shot of Vince McMahon coming up from the ring apron, and you can see his face just covered in blood. It's just so evil, and it just fit his character so well. Like, he even did a bit where he jumped off a ladder and leg dropped Hogan through the announce table, which was just crazy. And then Rowdy Roddy Piper shows up in the match, and it looks like he's going to take out Vince McMahon with a lead pipe, but instead hits Hogan with it. But Hogan would eventually power through. He hit the big boot on Vince and hit 3 running leg drops on Vince McMahon to win the match. I thought this was really damn good. I thought for Vince McMahon, who's not exactly known as a wrestler, he put on a great performance against Hulk Hogan, and Hogan did his best as well. It was very entertaining, I will say, and yeah, it was just a great WrestleMania match overall. I probably wouldn't put that in like my top 20 or anything, but like, for what they were able to do, for two guys who weren't exactly technical masters, they put on a very entertaining match. So, yeah, good stuff overall. And after that, we get to the final of the third match in the trilogy of Rock versus Austin at WrestleMania. This is where it all came to an end here, and Rock in the build-up for this basically said he's accomplished everything, he's beaten everyone. However, the only thing he has yet to accomplish is beat Stone Cold at WrestleMania. And his persona and his character had just completely changed. He's no longer the people's champion anymore and just playing up to the crowd. He's basically turned against them because in his mind, he feels like the fans had turned against him because he was just starting to transition into Hollywood and to starting to become a major Hollywood star. Now, he hadn't quite reached the point that he has now in Hollywood, but he was just starting to get his foot in the door. And fans didn't really know how to feel about that. They felt like they were almost getting betrayed by Rock. Rock was basically telling the WWE, fuck yous, I'm going to Hollywood. Although that probably wasn't his intention to basically tell the wrestling fans to go fuck themselves. But in their minds, that's what they felt. But I thought Rock's character, his Hollywood Rock gimmick was just great, man. I loved especially when he would do the Rock concert right before WrestleMania. It's one of my favorite segments in Raw history, just how much of a cocky dickhead he was. And when he talks about the Sacramento crowd and how he mentions, but I'll be sure to come back when the Lakers beat the Kings in May, and just getting nuclear hate for it. It was incredible just how much he was hated during that time period. It was perfect for The Rock to turn heel. That's one of the things I just loved about him. Once he was starting to get a little stale, he would always just switch up his character at the perfect time. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why Rock's one of the all-time greats, in my opinion. And this match as well solidified why Rock and Austin were all-time greats. As for Stone Cold, he was, this was his final match, unbeknown to the crowd at the time. But when it came to Austin, I believe he had collapsed in the hotel where he was staying at for this show, like the night before WrestleMania. He just collapsed and passed out. And yeah, I think that was when Austin decided, you know what, I should probably call it a day when it comes to his wrestling career and lace up the boots. But no one knew that at the time. It would be known later on that, yeah, this would be his final match. So the match itself was great. It's a Rock versus Austin match at WrestleMania. This match was just, I loved it. I don't know if I loved it as much as WrestleMania 17, because that match was just off the chain. But yeah, this match was fucking fantastic as well. I loved how both men hit each other with their own finishes. Rock even put on Stone Cold's vest at one point and hit the stunner on him, and then Austin would hit a rock bottom on him. Just little things like that. What I've noticed in previous feuds, later down the track, that if you want your feud to be top notch, just do each other's finishes, and that just settles it right there. However, The Rock actually managed to beat Stone Cold Steve Austin after hitting not one, but not two, but 3 rock bottoms in a row on Stone Cold to put him away. And I remember when he goes over to Austin after the match and whispers in his ear, he just says, "Thank you, man. You mean the world to me," and all that type of stuff. And yeah, it was just one of the best moments in Rock's career, definitely. Right afterwards, Austin would get a standing ovation from the crowd, as that would be his last ever match in the WWE. He would later on that year become the co-GM of Monday Night Raw alongside Eric Bischoff, and they had some pretty entertaining moments. So yeah, it was sad to see that this was the final match for Austin, but what a way to go out, man, for him to end his career in a great match. So after that, we get to the main event match. Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar in 2002 probably had one of the greatest rookie years, if not the greatest rookie year in the history of WWE. He would win the WWE title against The Rock at SummerSlam and have a great series of matches against The Undertaker. Like, he was just such an intimidating figure. He was a freak of nature, man. He just had muscle on top of muscle, and he would just kill his opponents, basically. And he was a heel the majority of 2002, but around Survivor Series, he turned face after Paul Heyman turned his back on him for him to align with the Big Show and even Kurt Angle. So, Kurt Angle in the build-up for this. So, Brock Lesnar had won the Royal Rumble and got to face Kurt for the championship. And they were basically trying to take out Brock Lesnar and do some underhanded tactics with him. Like, anytime Kurt would try to wrestle Brock, he would always try to weasel his way out in some way. Like, he would have a guy, like in a hoodie, dressed as him, and when Lesnar would get distracted, that guy moved out of the way, and then Kurt got in there and like gave him a roll-up in a match to win. So, yeah, that really pissed off Lesnar, and yeah, these two guys just fucking had a fantastic match, man. However, the match was great all around. I feel like these two definitely were evenly matched when it comes to just how good they were inside the ring. Like, Lesnar was way better in this time period, like, in-ring wise, than he is now, in my opinion. But the moment that this match is mostly remembered for is when Brock Lesnar goes up to the top rope and attempts a shooting star press and just completely misses. I think he was meant to get Angle, but when he hit that shooting star press, I think he got a big concussion from that, and like Kurt Angle was working with a broken neck in this match as well. So yeah, this must have been hell for these two to go through. So Lesnar ends up getting Angle with the third F5 to get the win and to win back the WWE title, and then afterwards, Lesnar and Angle shook hands and hugged as we closed the show. So my match of the night, I'd say the last two matches are definitely up there, but I have to go Michaels and Jericho. I thought that match was just so damn good. The storyline was great about Jericho wanting to be better than Shawn Michaels and to be better than his hero, pretty much, and he just didn't accomplish it, and he was a solid loser about it. So it made his heel character even stronger, in my opinion, and Shawn winning a match at WrestleMania just to prove that he is still Mr. WrestleMania. So, how I'm going to rate this show, I'm giving it, this show was fucking incredible. I love this show. Give it a 9.5 out of 10. I don't think it was as good as WrestleMania 17. I still think that's probably the best WrestleMania of all time, but this would be a close second, in my opinion. A very, very close second. And yeah, thank you guys for listening to this review. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment down below your thoughts on WrestleMania 19, and if you want to see more from me, hit that subscribe button. You'll be glad you did. Twitter and Instagram is at JacklemanLaw31 if you want to check me out there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm out in 3, 2, 1.